Up next, we have Lee Raj. Lee has been working in the crypto industry for over 5 years. Previously, he was a team lead at a DeFi startup managing over $50 million in liquidity. He has been an advocate for decentralized oracles and is also well known for his Ethereum Improvement Proposal 1973 on scalable rewards for the Ethereum network. And he'll be joining us today to talk about storage for Web3. Also, Lee is currently training in MMA, so don't mess with him. He'll kick your ass. He'll probably kick my ass.
Well, thank you, Tim, for the introduction. Really appreciate it.
No worries. Thanks for joining us. I'll let you take it away.
Yeah, thank you. Also, Tim forgot to mention here that current TPM for Forest, and Forest is we are project here at ChainSafe, but I'll talk more about it as we go. Let me share my screen as we begin the presentation here. But first of all, thank you everyone for being here at this time of the day, whichever time zone you are, day, night, morning. You could have been anywhere, but you chose to be with us, and that means a lot to us, ChainSafe, and also to me for our presentation here. So having said that, let's get started. Okay. Cool. So again, I'm Lee. I'm the technical project manager for Forest here. And today the talk is going to be about storage for Web3. A little bit about me. Tim already made an introduction. I have been in the crypto industry for over 5 years now. Did a lot of things here and there. Previously had been team lead at DeFi startups, managed where our application managed over $50 million in liquidity. I have been a big developer advocate for decentralized oracles for quite some time. And during my developer and engineering days, I also made a little contribution to the Ethereum network in the form of an EIP 1973 on an application layer scalability problem. But that's a little bit about me. And then let's see why decentralized storage matters. I think that's the first question that I had been thinking about myself when I was preparing for this talk, and I thought that to share this with you all. So if you think about it, I'll give you a little bit of a story on how I began to think about this problem. Not even today, but many years ago. So when I was looking for one of my first jobs in the career, and I was looking for an internship, it was probably over 6, 7, 8, probably close to a decade ago. I interviewed at a financial institution, and then I was just talking, to the hiring manager and like, okay, what products you guys are building, what kind of things that you're interested in. And he was like, well, Lee, we want to know you better than you do, right? That's what he said. He was like, okay, so imagine, you are spending all these things on your banking information. We have all this information. And then someday you go like, okay, hey, I want to make an appointment. I need some financial advice, or I need a new credit card, right? And by the time you come here, we want to be in a position where we are waiting for you. We're waiting with all the products or anything that you need, and you are supposed to arrive at 10 a.m. and we're waiting for you at 9:30 a.m. prepared. We have all the products that you need, everything that you need, and when you come here, we say we have been expecting you, right? From a business point of view, that's really great, right? I mean, you are doing customer service, you are catering to your customer needs, but from a customer point of view, that seemed a little creepy to me. Imagine some guy you have never met or person you have never met, and he goes like, oh, I have all this information. I exactly know what you need. When you wake up from your bed, I'll be just there expecting you with a cup of coffee, right? But in the technology world of today, that's basically what it is, right? In the 21st, now that we're in a technological revolution, right? After we have different kind of revolutions throughout the industrial revolution. I forgot the name of the other ones, but anyway, today we are in the 21st technological revolution, and today consolidated data is basically power, right? And that's why these gigantic companies or social networks or could be search engines have so much power, and it's a little bit kind of scary. That's kind of the narrative goes, right, on how powerful these companies have become. So that's one way to think about on why decentralized storage matters. Now as a part of formality, I can lead you through some of the problems of centralized storage that is very popular and we have talked about. But just to get an idea of what these problems are, right? Data breaches, right? A recent example, 700 million users in LinkedIn got their data breach. Now you might be like, oh, who cares, right? Like it's just LinkedIn profile or what they're gonna do. But here's something, right? When I talk about this to my friends, they're like, okay, nobody cares about my LinkedIn profile, right? Now let me ask you this: how many of you probably have saved the same password and username that you probably use in an exchange, right? Or now my when I talk about this, some of my friends face change, right? Oh, okay, because that's what hackers do, right? They take the information from something like LinkedIn, right? And you probably would have used the same password and email address because we're humans, right? We are gonna use the same, caps lock, the numbers, the special characters, and once they have this information, they're gonna try to brute force it in all different exchanges or wherever. And by God's grace or whatever, if you had the same um, password in, let's say, Binance or Coinbase, well, goodbye to your funds, right? So that's where this becomes a little tricky. Just not, LinkedIn hack, but more like in a layer deeper than that. Obviously, privacy, right? That's why if you haven't heard of ChainSafe files, which is our alternative to uh, decentralized Dropbox or Google Drive, feel free to check it out. Privacy, right? Resiliences. I guess we all remember the day when all Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp was basically down at the same time, and panic was struck over Earth. So that's one factor. Efficiency. Now, all these different data centers like AWSs are distributed in certain geographic locations, right? And because of that, it's sometimes difficult to get like faster and efficient data when you are, let's say, sometimes you go on these different various, oh, WordPress is down today and something else is down. Well, that's kind of the problem on a day-to-day basis. Censorship, well, in the US presidential elections, some people were banned and they're still banned from these social networks, which are basically corporations. So something to think about, right? So much influence on these networks have, but at the end of the day, they are for-profit corporations, right? They're for-profit businesses, and they're so powerful that they're able to take these very strict measures, to basically political figures or to people of high, individual status. Fair market pricing, again, if you have more decentralized storage where different people are storing, information, you don't just have Amazon or Google Cloud, or you have a much more, fair market pricing with supply and demand. So that's kind of, as a formality, like I said, many of you have been aware of these things, but just to remind us why decentralized storage matters. Now, if you ask me, okay, so all right, I'm a little bit convinced on why decentralized storage matters. Then you go like, okay, why does Filecoin matter, right? Why I understand it's a decentralized protocol, but why does Filecoin specifically matter? Well, in one statement, why Filecoin matters, right? In one statement, their mission statement is to store humanity's most important information, right? Just that's it, just how much? 5 letters: store humanity's most important information. Now we will see how that's happening, right? Let's look at the current progress that the network has made, right? So there's a total network storage power. That means this much amount of information has been stored, which is like 12 exabyte, which is kind of difficult to absorb what that actually means. At least it was for me. So I just put it into numbers where it says 12 times 2 to the power 60, and 2 to the power 60 is like more numbers than basically trillion or whatever. You can do the computation, but it's a lot of information. The network is very highly decentralized. You see, you have more than 3,000 storage providers in the Filecoin network. 230 plus organizations are building in the network, ChainSafe being one of them. 7.5K open source contribution. Everything is very transparent in the network. FIPs, the node implementations, the progress that are making completely open, right? 10K participating devs in hackathons, builders, the community is filled with builders in different hackathons and participants, and amazing projects are being built on. And again, this last year itself, 465 new projects have entered the ecosystem. So this is a network that has made a lot of progress in the crypto ecosystem, which is not a really easy task to do, but because it's so fundamentally different, right, from computational platforms like Ethereum or any other blockchains. Some of you might be wondering, okay, so let's say Filecoin is, they're doing a lot of stuff. So what are some of the use cases, right? What can I do with it, right? So if we look at the Web3 use cases, you can say, these are some of the use cases, right? So you have, this year has been crazy with NFTs, right? So you have, do you want to, let's say you're CryptoPunk, right? Which is like sold for whatever, gazillion of millions of dollars. Do you really want that image to be stored in a centralized, AWS or Google Drive or whatever? Doesn't start to make less sense, right? Or these $1 million NFTs that are being sold, why the most important part of an asset is being stored in like a centralized or somebody's Google Drive, right? So there's a application or startup called NFT Storage that allows storage of metadata, right? And again, basic argument here, alternative for AWS and Google Cloud alternative. ChainSafe files, ChainSafe files, private decentralized Dropbox, Google Drive that we are working on. Oracle market. So this is interesting. Filecoin has been working with Chainlink, right, to store all these crazy amount of Oracle data into blockchain agnostic solutions. So imagine all this information data, like if you financial data, right, all these trading markets, or let's say our stable coins, all this information is being stored in a decentralized storage network rather than in the centralized servers or something. So that's another really good use case in the Web3 world. There have been videos. They've been also collaborating with Livepeer for video infrastructure. Decentralized YouTube or anything that you call it, very very data incentive, data heavy applications, and anything from Web3, Web2 storage, right? Which brings me to an interesting use case that I would like to share with you guys. Now, if you remember, we said that Filecoin's mission statement here is to store humanity's most important data, right? So there have been some really, really amazing applications that has been happening, which, I put it as Web2 use case, but I would also point it out as like heavy use cases, right? Very heavy use cases. So a copy of the Wikipedia basically is being stored in the Filecoin network, which is like super amazing if you think about it, right? Because we don't know anything, we argue with a friend, okay, let's go www.google Wikipedia. Or an experiment was done with a proof of concept where 200 TB of data was stored in the Filecoin network from internet archives, right? Videos, files, anything, any format of data. One of the most amazing use case was done by Starling Labs, where they have stored and archived data of 4 PIB of the largest genocide information. People have been uploading information regarding to it so that the history doesn't get lost. So these are very, very, I would say, heavy use cases, right? Which is very, very interesting. And this is the information that you cannot trust centralized data warehouses, right? You cannot just trust to one company to do it. This is a collaborative effort. This is a collaborative. This belongs to everybody, right? So that's why this becomes super interesting here. So now, if I have convinced you that decentralized storage matters, Filecoin matters, now I guess the next question comes at, we gotta decentralize this network, right? So we gotta make sure that this network is not prone to centralized point of failure, which is basically the core argument of this entire thesis that we're making here. So how do we decentralize the network? This is where we come in as well. So there are various nodes across the Filecoin network that are used. So if you are not aware what a node is, it's basically when you run like a Bitcoin network or something, you have to run a node software that proves consent, that has consensus to the network, mines blocks, and gets rewarded, right? Same principle here. So the current nodes across the network, we have Lotus, which is the reference implementation, and Protocol Labs has been maintaining it. Amazing team maintained by Protocol Labs. Is written in Go, right? The another one, we have Venus, which is maintained by the IPFS Force community. I believe it was the Go Filecoin, one of the most, OG implementations, but then now the IPFS Force community is handling that. They're very focused on small and large scale miners. Great, also amazing work done by the Venus team. But again, they're both in Go, right? Fuhan hasn't launched yet, but they're working on their first release. They're maintained by Soramitsu. They're written in C++, right? Any C++ fans here, so you can try that out. And this is where we come in, right? Which I would love to talk about now more. Forest, which is basically our implementation, Filecoin's node written in Rust. So if you're a Rust fan, if you love performance-based things, if you love the Rust language, if you love Filecoin, that's where you gotta check out Forest. So let's talk about a little bit Forest, right? So what Forest has today, right? Well, again, like I mentioned, it's implementation in Rust for the Filecoin network. Currently, we have done our alpha release like a month or a couple of weeks ago. Right now, the node, if you run the node, it maintains consensus with the network, which basically means up-to-date Filecoin network ledger. There are some network upgrades recent that we haven't been able to sync yet, but it should be syncing in a couple of weeks. So that's what you can do with Forest today. Really interesting news that was really recently shared within the Filecoin core devs call, FVM. So check it out. It's really amazing thing. So to give you a short summary on that, Filecoin currently has the storage layer developed, right? So you have all this information that are being stored. And on top of that, they are trying to install like computational layer as well, right? So so that EVM compatible contracts like smart contracts or other blockchain contracts can run on it. Super cool. And a component of the Forest code base, which is called the Rust actors, which is a very critical component, will be used in the FVM in the entire network. So it's amazing to see this progress, and it's very exciting for us. Some of the things that we have incorporated in the future roadmap includes deal making, right? So deal making is basically the ability to store information into the network. So you can locate different miners with different pricing, and you can just put your data, whatever it is, files or videos or anything that you can incorporate storage into the network. That's something that we have been working on in order to incorporate the markets module. So that's in progress for in the next roadmap. Retrieval, again, retrieval is also, it's like once you have put the files in the cold storage, okay, we gotta take it back and see how basically just retrieving the file, right? You upload a file and it's kind of download. But because it's a very decentralized storage network, there are still certain issues with retrieval. Sometimes retrieval takes a little bit more time than we anticipated. Sometimes it's not very performant and fast. So that's something Forest will be focusing on as well. Yeah, and mining, right? So Forest, you'll be able to use the Rust-based client to fully mine and operate and run a node. So that's what Forest. You can talk it as like a features, or that's what we are currently at. A little bit on our roadmap here. Let's see. Yeah, so we have done our alpha release, like I mentioned, a couple of weeks ago, a month ago. Right now, we are fixing some bugs by Consensus. We have Alex Wade from Consensus who has been taking care of the Rust actors, and there are a lot of different small little minor bugs. Wouldn't say Consensus critical or very difficult to solve. We have just minor bugs that we are working on. And then the Filecoin virtual machine, there's a lot of support that we will provide to the Protocol Labs and also the Filecoin Foundation in getting the whole Rust actors being implemented in the Filecoin virtual machine, and then again incorporating those FIPs into the node. and then basically incorporating market modules like deal making, retrieval markets, and then our beta release. So if that has sparked your interest and enthusiasm, I would say we are hiring. We are hiring. We are hiring at ChainSafe, and we are hiring at Forest. So we are in need of Rust developers. So if you love Rust, if you love the blockchain ecosystem, and if you love Filecoin, you love storage, please, 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 please reach out to us. You can reach out to me directly. I'm not very active in Twitter, but if you wanna tweet me, that's fine. But email, this is the email, or we have an open source repo, ChainSafe Forest. Just make a PR, just engage there. And once you start engaging, if you're looking for opportunity, we will reach out to you. So yes, please, 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 please work with us. We are building the future of Web3. We are building the infrastructure of the most interesting technological revolution that's happening in the next decade. Please join us. And I'm not sure how much I am on time, but thank you. Happy to answer any questions.
That was perfect, Lee, and that was a very masterful shill at the very end. I love it when we get the hiring message out. Thank you for that talk. We got some questions from the audience. If you have time, maybe you can answer them. So yeah, the first question from Anonymous: how do you link NFT images from Filecoin into Ethereum tokens?
Sure. So I'll just give you a very basic answer. So let's say you have an NFT, you have an ERC-721 token, right? So you'll probably have a function or wherever it says metadata information, right? So that's where usually you put the AWS link, or you put the your Google storage cloud link or whatever, and then it references that to your API, REST API or whatever. Instead of that, what you would do, let's say very basic, there's more complicated way to do this. You upload your file to the IPFS, right? And then you get a CID, which is like a hash. And that's what you kind of link to your ERC-721. That's how you would do it in a very basic, simple way.
That way I can make sure my NFTs remain censorship.
Correct. Yes.
Next question. How do you combat misinformation that gets uploaded to Filecoin in a way that's not considered censorship?
Very good question that I don't really actually have the answer to. But I think there is a form of incentive among the miners or the storage providers that really, really bad information, right? Which you can let your imagination flow. Are not really entered into the network. And also you have this particular thing, you can only make a storage deal for X amount of time. So if you really wanted to store that bad information, you just gotta keep paying basically. And who would wanna kind of do that, right? Like, so it just doesn't economically make sense. So let's say you wanna store some really bad information. If it's really important to you, I mean, you gotta pay it for 10 years or whatever. So that's one way how I think it's done.
Right, of course, yeah. Incentives keeps everyone aligned, unless like the bad guy is like a billionaire and really wants
and
to.
He really wants to. Yeah, he really wants to.
Yeah. Next question: are there smart contracts on Filecoin? If no, then when will they be, or maybe something to substitute? Double smiley face.
Yes, that's exactly what the EVM is. I wouldn't really say smart contracts on it. Maybe I could be wrong. There could be, but it's going to be virtual EVM compatible and also blockchain agnostic in a way. So FVM, check that out if you're interested in smart contracts on Filecoin.
FVM,
Filecoin virtual machine. Yeah.
I see. Okay. Great, thank you. And one last question here from the audience, also from Anonymous. Thank you, Anonymous. You have been such an awesome question asker. What is the difference between Filecoin and IPFS? Are they complementary?
Yes. Filecoin is basically, you can just think about just the storage, like you can upload it on it and then download, but there's no incentive layer, right? Like, why would somebody run an IPFS node and just store your stuff for no money or whatever, right? So Filecoin is the incentive layer. So IPFS is like the basically the core tech, right? And Filecoin is the incentive layer. Obviously, it's also very technological heavy, but they're very complementary in each other. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you again for dropping by. Hello? Did you just drop out?
No, I'm here. I said thank you very much, Tim, for having me here.
Yeah, thank you for stopping by, giving us talk about storage and Web3, and yeah, definitely looking forward to seeing progress with the Forest team. Sorry for not introducing you as a project manager for Forest, but definitely very excited to see what Forest has in store, especially as you guys build out your value proposition for your node implementation.
Thank you, Tim. Let's see you.
Thank you.